everyone and welcome to the Learning Ladder. Today I am doing our end of year curriculum review. Now we still have 10 weeks left of school, but we have actually finished some of our curriculum and we've also moved on to the next level for some of them, and I feel like we have done enough of the ones we are still completing to be able to do my review, and hopefully it'll help you if you're searching right now to get your curriculum ready. In terms of what we did, I'm just going to talk about the curriculum, not all the additional games and extras and everything like that. I'm going to actually do a favourites video of the year, kindergarten favourites, and I'll include those types of things in that review rather than in this one. I'm going to talk about the bones, the curriculum. So for maths, we did a few different things. So we did Saxon Maths, we did the Moffat Girls hands-on kindergarten curriculum, and then we also did the Carson DeLosa interactive math notebook. So we'll talk about Saxon first. Now, I absolutely love Saxon. My daughter does too. It's been the perfect curriculum for us. We have thoroughly enjoyed it. What I specifically like and what she does is it's very hands-on. In the kindergarten level, there was actually little writing. It was all activities. So you did your geoboard, making shapes, you did patterning, you did addition and subtraction problems using teddy bears or other manipulatives, you did measuring with cups, and it was fantastic. You learned about your shapes with actual shape pieces and tangrams. It was just absolutely amazing. I can't recommend it enough. Now, she did actually do the kindergarten level, but we did fly through it because she had done kindergarten maths in pre-K 4. But because we'd switched to a different curriculum, I wanted to start out from the beginning so we got a good gist of how they worked their curriculum and how it all pieced together. But also because of how it was so much manipulative based, which I knew she would love. We played cards, we learned card games, we played dominoes, we learned domino games. It was just fantastic. Highly recommend it. I know that there is a temptation to skip it and go on to the first grade because, as I said, she did know quite a few of the methods, and she did know quite a few. We had done some kindergarten maths anyway, so she didn't know some of it was review, but I don't regret going through the whole curriculum because there was sections of it that, although she knew one bit, perhaps maybe she needed a bit more practice on another, so I don't regret it going through the kindergarten year with it. It was fabulous. We have actually moved on to the first grade level now. Still thoroughly enjoying it. There are worksheets this time around with it, which are going well. So the cons, I guess you could say, it is, in terms of print, black and white, so there's no colour on the worksheets or anything like that, but it's not the worksheet isn't the focus. The worksheet is the, I guess you could say, review or consolidation. The actual exercises are the lesson. So you're using your manipulatives to do different activities. You're teaching different concepts. So the teaching part is separate than the worksheet. So I think some people, when they're choosing maths curriculums and things, they're just wholly focused on the worksheet. But to me, the worksheet is just the review of what you've learned in your lesson. So I love that Saxon is actual math lessons in terms of I'm teaching, and I know that can be difficult if you've got multiple children and things, but it works great for us because I feel like I'm actually teaching to her rather than just opening a textbook and giving it to her and saying, here's your worksheet. We do a lesson, and then at the end she does her sheet. And we had no issues with so far with it being in black and white, the actual sheet. I make it fun by giving stamps when for rewards and things that she can decorate her sheet with when she's finished, so that we can get colour into it that way. But it's never been an issue. And also we do a coloured curriculum for the Moffat Girls is full colour, so she does get the range of both. If you have a more visual learner, then I think Saxon Maths and the Moffat Girls curriculum go very well together. So that's Saxon Maths. Love it, highly recommend it. The Moffat Girls Kindergarten hands-on maths curriculum is centres based, so you get centres for each unit, and then she also gives worksheets as well that you can do alongside that. Now, what I particularly liked about the Moffat Girls and Saxon Maths working together, so Saxon Maths is incremental, so that's in between spiral and mastery, so it's in the middle, so it's not one or the other, which I think works really well. It is in the middle, so it's incremental. You don't keep continually doing the same thing, and you also don't suddenly get faced with new things constantly all the time. It's a mix of the two, which I think works really well. And the Moffat Girls kindergarten curriculum is centres based for each unit. So for example, there's an addition unit where all the centres are based around addition, but different concepts of addition, subtraction, there's shapes, there's time, there's money, and with the money I do use her ideas and make my own worksheets because we obviously don't use US currency, but it's never been an issue. I just use her ideas, or I come up with my own ideas, and there's only one unit out of the whole pack that I have an issue with in terms of it not being in the right currency. Everything else works fine. So I'll just show you an example of one of her subtraction activity. So this one is solve the problem, find a matching puzzle piece that shows the same subtraction problem. So you can just get an idea of what it's like. So you get your different fruits, well, this one's ice cream, and then you have to match it to the correct sum. So it's all hands-on, very interactive. She does give a recording sheet if you want to record down your answers. And also, as I said, this is just one example, there are tons. Highly recommend it. The worksheets are great as well. We don't tend to do too many of the worksheets because there are tons of them, for one. So there's much more worksheets ratio compared to centres, but that's obviously so you can practice your skills. I think it's ideal for a school setting where obviously you've got a huge amount of time of day that you need to fill. So that it works great for a school. Homeschool, absolutely fine to use it as well. We concentrate more on the centres than the worksheets, but occasionally I do throw a worksheet in, especially if it's interactive, cut and paste, something along those lines. So that was the Moffat Girls hands-on kindergarten maths curriculum. Okay, drink. I have a cold and I'm not editing this video, so you're just going to see raw footage, unedited. So if I lose my voice halfway through, that's fine. Okay, so language arts, reading, spelling, everything else. So one of my favourite products, teaching products, so you're getting a little hint, not a hint, but a little glimpse of my favourites video. One of my favourite curriculums this year was all about reading. It was fabulous. My daughter loved it. She thrived with it. It was so fun. It was a fun curriculum to teach. I love all about reading. So we did the level 1. We have actually moved on to the level 2 now. There are tons of games that come with it that you can play. We did actually buy the Ziggy Zebra supplement as well. We haven't actually used any of those because there was tons of games already, so you don't necessarily need that. But what I plan to do with that is during summer, just pull one of those games out for review. So it works that way, so you can do it for summer learning. Fabulous curriculum. She's thrived with it. I love the readers. For level 1 we got 3 readers, hardback, lovely little stories, cute illustrations. Yes, it's black and white, but that is so you're focusing on the words, not necessarily the pictures. But my daughter has never complained and not wanted to read it because the illustrations are black and white. She's still very interested in what they're doing and everything else, and we do our little composition? That's not what I meant. Comprehension activities as part of the curriculum. So they'll say, you know, looking at pictures for some of the chapters, what they're doing and everything else, and she's still very interested in them even though it is black and white. So don't let that put you off. She has just thrived with it. It is fabulous curriculum. There's lots of review in there, but it's not boring review. We developed a little schedule as to how we would use it in terms of that we did 2 lessons a week, so we split each lesson twice. That just worked for us. So they recommend around 20 minutes per lesson, so we worked it out that we split each lesson twice. So for the first lesson we would do our review cards and whatever the lesson was, the activity was, and then the second lesson we'd finish that and usually do the fluency sheet, and then the third lesson would be one of the stories and any activity that went along with that story. Then the fourth lesson we would do our review cards again, and we would do the final story of the week. So we split it, so it ended up basically that we did reading every day for 20 minutes, or reading curriculum every day, but we ended up doing 2 lessons a week in total, and we finished it in April. So we started in September and we finished it in April, just to give you an idea of how you know you can schedule out the year. That's basically what we did. Highly recommend it. For language arts as well, we did the Carson Dolosa language arts notebook. Again, really enjoyed that. Very interactive, cutting and pasting, little flaps. My daughter really enjoys those kind of books where you're lifting things up and seeing what's inside. The interactive notebooks are great for that. We did handwriting without tears for writing, and I also did my own worksheets. We did our own worksheets as well. Thoroughly enjoyed that curriculum. They have actually adapted it as well, because in the last year when we did our pre-K4, it was all uppercase, no lowercase, and that made that we had to really focus on our lowercase this year. But the kindergarten book does actually have upper and lowercase as well, but they have actually amended their pre-K book now to have uppercase and lowercase, which I think is a great idea. It's not a negative, because we're fine with our lowercase now. I just much prefer what the new formula that they're using, where they do uppercase and lowercase at the same time. So we have still got a couple of pages left in our handwriting without tears book. I also picked up the new book that they have this year, which is just expanding on writing, little prompts and everything else. We're really enjoying that. And as I said, we did our own worksheets. I'm just looking at my folders right here. I added a bunch of different fun ones and different interactive worksheets to just really practice with our handwriting. Very, very happy with that curriculum. We have continued with it, so I highly recommend it. Spelling, all about spelling, level 1, again, fabulous. Highly recommend it. It goes very well with All About Reading, because it's from the same company, same principle. You use the tiles to spell your words. She's very good at phonetically spelling. She's amazing at phonetically spelling. We don't really have any issues at all with any CVC words. For a while now, she has been able to spell all those, and I just put that down to obviously phonetically, learning to read phonetically. So spelling, All About level 1 spelling was not an issue. She flew through it, because I think she had that really good foundation with the All About Reading level 1. So that's it really for language arts. Okay, moving on to science. We did elemental science this year, and it was the introduction to science. So they covered all aspects of science. So we did geology, meteorology, we did biology. The only thing that we didn't do was human body. We did physics as well. So it was a good all-round introduction to science, basically. Every week there was an experiment, a colouring page, and then a craft. We have loved it. Absolutely loved it. I would highly recommend it, especially in this age group, because my daughter loves doing experiments. She loves playing around with mixing things and making potions. So I highly recommend elemental science. It's a very gentle approach to science, but you're really getting in that information into them as well. They utilise a few different books to go along with the curriculum. So you've got the Osborne Science Encyclopedia. You've also got an actual experiment book with a number of different experiments in that they schedule in the actual programme for you. And as I said, lots of different crafts, food crafts, drawing crafts, colouring, activities, painting. It's just fabulous. Highly recommend it. I keep saying fabulous, but it was. Okay, now Bookshark. So I did add Bookshark very late on in my curriculum. It actually wasn't in my original curriculum haul at all, because I wasn't planning on getting it. But as often is the case when you watch YouTube videos, you see a curriculum several times, and you start to think, oh, I must have it because everyone else is using it and it looks fabulous and everything else. So last minute I did decide to add it to our year, and what I purchased was the history programme, which came with all the read alouds, and it also had the language arts element to it as well. So when I received it, I unboxed it. It looked fabulous. There was tons of read alouds with it. I was really excited to use it, and we did enjoy it, but I wouldn't purchase it again. That was just my take on it. There's nothing wrong with it per se. I just feel like unless you are going to really utilize the guide, which I didn't need to do, or I didn't choose to do, buying a box curriculum like that is not necessarily financially the best option, because otherwise you're paying a heck of a lot of money for read alouds, which you could just buy separately. So I'm not knocking box curriculums at all. I think they can really work, and maybe in the future I will at some point use one again, but for now it's not for us, and that's my biggest, I guess, not regret, because I don't regret it, but my biggest, I wish I could go back and not purchase that. The read alouds were fabulous. I love the books, and we've got them still, and we didn't actually read all of them, so we do have a few that we can go back to. So I don't regret the read alouds at all. I just regret the guide because I didn't really utilise it as that much. So for me, it kind of was a bit of a waste of money. But don't let that put you off. Everybody's different. You might really like it. You know, it might work for you. That's the hard thing about buying homeschool curriculum. What works for one person may not work for another person, and what doesn't work for one person may work for another person. So there's always that unsure element, and sometimes you just have to use it. Try sample lessons. That's probably my best advice. Try a sample lesson, see how you feel that way. But yes, that was Book Shark. Okay, now another thing we did add, because I wasn't really enjoying the Book Shark, was we did purchase the Little Thinkers social studies curriculum from Teachers by Teachers. Now there was a few different units, but the one that I particularly enjoyed, but when I say I mean my daughter as well, obviously, we particularly enjoyed was the citizenship unit, and it was all about, you know, how to be a good citizen, values and manners and how society works, basically, but at a kindergarten level. It was fabulous. It was so fun. There was all read alouds that you could either purchase or actually watch read alouds on YouTube, which was what we did for some of them, and it was actually so fun. Some of the books that she purchased, No David, well, not purchased, but she recommended as part of the programme. No David was one of our favourites. My daughter loved that. And What If Everybody Did That? Those were one of her two favourites that we did from that curriculum. So highly recommend it. It was just an added thing that I actually purchased throughout the year. It wasn't even in my curriculum haul. But sometimes, you know, that's the way it happens. You don't always... You can add your curriculum as you go throughout the year sometimes. And that was something that we added that we really enjoyed. So definitely recommend that. Everything I'm talking about, I did actually purchase with my own money. Nothing was sponsored. I should have added that at the beginning. Just not that it necessarily makes a difference, but I just want you to know that I did actually purchase everything. And then we did Keyboarding Without Tears, which is handwriting without tears, but IT version. So it's a lot of typing, so, you know, learning where to put your hands and everything else, but at kindergarten level. It's also utilising the letter tiles, you know, not letter tiles, the wooden, you know, if you've done handwriting without tears, they have the wooden pieces as part of one of the options on your sheet, where you know, drag the shape in. Well, you don't drag it in reality, you put the wooden piece on to make the letter. Well, it does that too, but in the IT format, so you're actually dragging using your mouse or touchscreen if you've got a touchscreen to actually drag the letter to the right shape. So it really incorporated well with handwriting without tears too for review. And there's also finding letters in words, so you'll type the letters however many A's are in a specific word. So it was really fun curriculum. We still haven't finished that yet, but definitely would recommend it, and we are continuing with that. Now, something I found free online was KinderArt, which was basically, there's tons of projects on there, art projects that you can print out and do with your little one. One of the things we did was my first art book, so they give you specific activities. I think it was a 8-week activity, so every week there was a different thing. So we covered textures, we covered neutral colours, colour mixing, all kinds of different activities, and then at the end you make your little art book, which I need to put ours together. So I really enjoyed that. And then obviously we did our usual Pinterest type activities for art too. We did 5 in a row this year. So I basically bought a mix of books from book 1 and 2, read alouds. I also did get the guides too. I didn't utilise the guides as much as I thought I would, but I wouldn't say to not get them, because if you're going to do 5 in a row, you probably will need the guides. But the reason I didn't really need the guides is because there are tons and tons and tons of projects and activities online that from people who have blogged about it and done their own version of the guide. So you don't necessarily have to buy the guides, but I did occasionally refer back to it. On the whole, if I'm being honest, it was a lot of Pinterest people who had blogged about it and given ideas, and then I'd either use their ideas or do a version of my own of what they did. We used Lapbooks as well. Really enjoyed 5 in a row. And every month we also did a theme, so a unit study or a theme, however you want to categorise it as. So I'll just give you a brief overview of what we did. Basically, I just pulled all that together myself, so different books to use as read alouds and different activity sheets I found online. Teachers Pay Teachers was where I got a lot of my resources from, or I made my own. Highly recommend Teachers Pay Teachers. It's one of my favourite websites. So for September we did autumn, so we did all about pumpkin life cycle, about apple life cycle, all, you know, lots of different autumn crafts and read autumn books. For October, we continued on with our autumn theme, so that was obviously more of the pumpkin kind of subjects, life cycle and everything else. We went on a field trip to the farm, just tons of different autumn themes. For November, we did our world, so all about continents, all about habitats, and, you know, different landscape, landforms, all those kind of subjects. And then in December we did Christmas, so lots of multiple Christmas activities, crafts, you know, what Christmas means to different people, different cultures, just a really fun and lots of fun Christmas activities. In January we did weather, so all about different types of weather, the water cycle. In February we did polar regions, so we did both the Arctic and Antarctica, so we did polar bears and the penguins. In March we did our Grow Your Own unit, so we're learning all about seeds and we did lots of planting, so gardening, a gardening unit as well. And then in April we did our Easter activities, so lots of different Easter crafts. We also included Peter Rabbit in there as well, a unit study on Peter Rabbit, and our 5 in a row unit as well, which was Miss Rumfus, our 5 in a row book for that particular month. And in May, which is now, we are doing the human body. In June we are doing ladybugs and butterflies. We always get the caterpillar kit, so the caterpillars come and you watch them go into their chrysalis and then hatch them out and set them free. It's such a fun pack and highly recommend it. We do the insect lore one, and the butterflies are perfectly safe to be released in your environment. You're not causing any damage or anything, and it's so fun. It's such a fun thing to see and so educational to see them develop into they get so big really quickly as well. So my daughter was always fascinated every morning finding out how big they were they going into their cocoon yet. So I highly recommend doing that insect lore kit. And then in July, which is our final unit, we are doing ocean. So I really enjoyed doing the themes this year, the unit study themes. We will continue on with those next year, but probably not one every single month. That's just because we're going into first grade, we're adding a few more subjects. I don't want to overload her. I want it to be fun still, so I don't want to pile on additional work when it's not necessary. And we are doing biology, so they're up next year for science, and there's tons of activities that go along with that, so I don't want to overload her. So we will do themes, but we just won't do one every month. And that's everything for my curriculum review for this year. I hope that was helpful for you. Otherwise, take care, and I will see you in my next video. I have put my first grade curriculum that we are using this year already on my channel. When I put curriculum hauls out, bear in mind I'm not saying how I use the curriculum, because I know sometimes when people watch other people's curriculum hauls, they can either feel overwhelmed by the quantity, or they can feel confused as to how each subject would integrate with another. So just bear in mind that people are just showing everything they purchased. They're not necessarily showing you how they use things, because I don't always follow the guides, and I do change things to suit myself. So for an example, here's an example of what I mean. We purchased a vocabulary book this year, and it's very black and white. You look at it, it looks so boring. I would not present that to my child. I wouldn't. What I'm going to do is use the vocabulary words to make fun cards with characters on that she likes. So for example, she likes My Little Pony, so I'll be using a vocabulary word with a picture of My Little Pony on there, an explanation of what it means, and then we'll come up with a sentence of how we can use that word, things like that. I wouldn't present the textbook to her and say, here's your worksheet, you need to do this. So just bear that in mind when you're watching curriculum hauls. People aren't always necessarily going to use the curriculum as it is in the book, because sometimes that can make you feel a bit overwhelmed. But if you tailor it to your child, then you can't really go wrong. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care. See you soon. Bye for now.